all know a guy who only occasionally shaves for big occasions, and it's because that occasional shave really hurts. It's the time of year for big occasions, and yet there he is, suffering with that cheap drugstore razor. Let's help him out. Henson Shaving's line of razors, built with aerospace precision, deliver a smooth shave your dad, brother, and even son can enjoy, eventually. With replacement blades just 10 cents each, you'll buy it once and they'll use it for life. How's that for the perfect gift? Celebrate with 100 free blades on your first purchase, and no subscription headaches. HensonShaving.com/holiday.
For the best TV viewing experience, witness the coziest maroons, the most vibrant and brightest moons, the eeriest and darkest tombs, and radiant and vivid hues in any type of room with the Neo QLED and OLED TVs by Samsung. We're supposed to say Samsung, but that didn't rhyme, so you're welcome. Samsung, more wow than ever.
Welcome to the No Fruit Podcast,
where we talk about our life experiences with a spiritual twist. Hosted by Maurice
and Kafa. We hope you enjoy today's episode.
Hello, family.
Hello, family.
So, we're going to let y'all in on a little secret. So, this segment of our show is called From the Last Pew. From the Last Pew. So, you might be wondering, Maurice, what in the world are you talking about? So here's the deal. This particular show, or these shows moving forward, are going to be a little more lighthearted. I know we kind of play around the other one, but this one's going to be a little more lighthearted because from the last pew of the church, right, you get to see a whole lot of stuff. Mm-hmm. And so we are going to look into that a little deeply. A little more deeply, a little less deeply. We're going to get into some of the shenanigans that we might see, some of the conversations, whatever it might be, whatever happens, whatever comes to our minds. That's what this show is about, from the last pew. Coffee, you want to say something?
I'm just watching from the back pew.
And sometimes people like you, is the reason why people sit on the last pew, because I'm sitting up here talking my head off and you're looking at me, because I'm in the front and I'm talking and I'm looking out in the congregation and I'm looking at your face and your face is saying,
"Hurry
boy,
up.
What are you talking about?"
Hurry up.
Right. So that's what this is all about. This is all about what's happening in the church. So one of the things that we're going to talk about, and we're going to elaborate on a little bit more, is what I just mentioned, which is when you're out, when you're in the front, right? You're looking out into the congregation, and sometimes when you're in the front, you feel important, right? You sit on the first pew, the second pew, the third pew, you feel important because you're in that quote unquote leadership role in most cases, right? And so the thing is that by being in that first row, or even being in, on the dais or dais, or however you want to put it, or the choir loft, sometimes we have such a vibe about ourselves, how important we really are, or, whatever, a different outlook on ourselves. And that when we look at people that's on the back pew, that last pew all the way back in the corner, we a lot of times when we look at them, they could be asleep, because trust me, that's where I was when I was a kid. I used to be on the back pew. I would be asleep, or if I was an usher, I'd be on the back pew. Whatever. Sometimes we don't look at these individuals as being as important as those that's in the front pew. Mm-hmm. In a lot of cases, right? And I think, in my opinion, this is my opinion, and that's what this show is about. My opinion and our viewpoint on what's going on, right? That the back,
viewpoint from the back.
The back is just as important as the front.
Well, the Bible does say that, you're not the tail, you're the head, and the latter is greater than the first and all that good stuff. So,
Yes, and I agree, but
just so everybody knows, like, the back is important.
but like you said, some people don't look at it that way. That we all make up this whole body of Christ. No matter where we are, where we sit, where what's our standpoint, our viewpoint, whatever. Like we all are important. But a lot of times that's not, encouraged. Especially when you're in leadership, they say, you can't lead from the back. Well, I mean, I guess in essence they're right. Because people don't always respond for those that's in the back. But the reality is, those people that are in the back, sometimes they are leaders and all they're doing is observing. Because I'm one of those persons that's like to sometimes like to, get a sense of what I'm getting involved in. I don't always put my, big boy pants on and run up to the front pew. Sometimes I just want to sit back and chill and just look at everybody else.
But I think what you're saying is even in the back, you're not really chilling. You're working, you're observing just from the back.
Well, but
like someone in the front can look and see, the whole congregation as they sit up or sit in the front.
Right.
Especially those who are facing the congregation, they can see a whole lot.
Right.
However, people need to understand that those that sit in the back are seeing the same thing, but just from the back. So they can observe everything from the rear.
So here's the other side of that. So where are you sitting within this sanctuary? Let's put it like that. So I'm going based off of my particular church that set.
Your church now?
No, I'm talking about the church that I grew up in.
Okay, so the church that you grew up in.
Yeah,
like,
the church I grew up in, which was a very nice sized church, if you will, old school, former United Methodist, Union Methodist church from the 1700s. So the church had been there for a very long time, very cathedral-like, if you will. So the church I attended as a child, it sat maybe 500 to 700 people in the sanctuary on the lower level, and probably maybe another 150 in the balcony. And that's not including all the other seats that were within the sanctuary itself, like the choir loft and the pulpit and all that stuff. So there was a lot, and organs and pianos and drum, all that stuff. So it sat a lot of people. And at one time, I recall in the 80s, in the 1980s, wow, that was a long time ago, that...
You remember this?
Yeah, well, I was an acolyte and or altar boy, depending on your definition. But I recall that people were talking about we would have close to 1,100 people in worship services. And that's because we also had a chapel that was connected, and people would sit over there in a chapel too. So I recall that they used to talk about and brag about how there was close to 1,100 people in worship services up into the 80s. So understand that my viewpoint of the last row or the last pew is just as important as the front pew, because those individuals that came in late, just because they came in late and had to sit in the back doesn't mean that they had less of a role. They were just late in some cases.
Mm-hmm.
So the reason why I'm saying that, because if you were in my particular church, if you sat in the front, you had no clue what's going on behind you because there was too many people.
Right.
You couldn't see, versus if you sat now where I sat as an acolyte, where my seat was facing the congregation, just like the rest of the pulpit and the choir loft. Oh no, I could see what was going on. Most definitely.
Right.
But
But I think the difference is sitting up there, you could see what was going on, but you weren't necessarily a part of what was going on.
Right. Because sometimes I would be like, wow, are they back there? What they eating? Stuff like that. You're a little kid. I'm like, I want to eat too.
Uh-oh.
You're a little kid. I'm like, or not a little kid. I wasn't a little kid, but, just younger. And you would look and be like, wow, I need to go to the bathroom. They can get up and go to the bathroom. I'm sitting all the way up here in the front. I can't go to the bathroom.
Mm-hmm.
There were some other privileges you had from sitting back there too.
Whether they were laughing and you wanted to know like what was the joke.
Right.
Or even if you kind of communed after service and everybody has that inside joke or remembers something and you're like, okay, well, I wasn't sitting with you all in the back.
Right.
So I can't necessarily vibe all the way with you. So
right.
Some of those things are different as well. So for me, growing up in my small church, the very, very back pew was against the wall.
Yes, I can see that. Yes,
and that was for the ushers.
But
so that wasn't necessarily considered, a pew. It was kind of just the bench for the ushers to sit. So the actual pews, depending on which side, it was kind of the mothers and their children.
Yeah, I can see that.
It was somewhat Sunday school, when we didn't finish our lesson and we kind of came up afterwards. That's what kind of happened on those back pews. Much smaller church, just a fraction of what Maurice talked about. So not as many people, Maurice.
Yeah, so your church, I would say size-wise, the amount of pews and people that sat were probably the same amount as just my middle row in the church.
Middle section.
Yeah, my middle section.
I don't even think it was as large as your middle section. I mean, maybe all pews put together, maybe, but much, much smaller church. So even our back pew wasn't necessarily the back because we could get away with some things, but we couldn't get away with a whole lot.
Yeah, I mean, your last pew, I mean, so that's why I said it depends on what church. That's why I went into that whole dissertation, if you will.
And I'm not saying we didn't cut up back there. We had our inside jokes. We had, passing of the candy. We had, a lot going on. I did get some dirty looks. Things did happen in the back.
Right. But see, the difference with your church versus mine, you can turn around from the front and see the back and kind of make out what's going on.
Right.
Versus if you turn around in mine, you got too many faces you got to try to peer through. Unless you really know exactly who you're looking for.
And where they would normally sit.
And that's that's a whole nother, that's a topic, that we're going to be talking about. What do we call it? Okay, we're not going to worry about that.
Yes.
I think it's called something about pew politics or something along
something
the line.
Like that.
But yeah. So, stay tuned for that. But I want y'all to know that this whole thing is going to be deep. I mean, we have a lot to cover from the last pew. Most definitely. But but before we continue on, we want y'all to listen to a message from one of our sponsors.
Do you wake up in the morning and not feel inspired? Do you have to put on a smiling face for the public to see? Well, the Positive Energy T-shirt shop may be the inspiration you need. With their positive quotes that inspire an entrepreneurial attitude, it will make you feel like you're conquering the world. They have clothing that can be outfitted for any occasion, business casual, class, or even a night on the town. Feel great in what you are wearing. Shop today at www.positiveenergyshop.com. That's www.positiveenergyshop.com. rgshop.com.
Kafa, thank you very much for that message from our sponsor for today's show. But I think that we really need to pay attention as a body, if you will, how important that the last pew really is.
Right.
I think we do. Because sometimes we discount what's on the last pew. And that's one of the things that we're going to talk about as we move forward. Again, your viewpoint. So we have right now between the two of us, we have two different viewpoints, experiences from sitting on that last pew, or like as Kafa said, maybe even the usher bench, if you will. And for us, we didn't have usher benches. We have actual folding chairs when I was growing up. We had folding chairs that we put back there for the ushers at the back door. But wait a minute, y'all had a folding chair too at one time, I believe. We
had one folding chair right at the door. At the door.
Right,
that was the person like on duty or whatever. Or for us being junior ushers, or youth ushers, that was kind of whoever the head of the ushers for, the youth ushers was.
Right.
That was the person that kind of held all the programs. Like we couldn't hold all the programs. Like that person had to hold them and we kind of divvy them out to us.
Right.
They were the ones who did the counting. Like, so they would have the little counter in their hand and would count the people coming in, so we knew how many people came to service.
Right.
So that person would sit there with that, and if we needed fans, and they would be able to go into the closet and get the fans. We were not always allowed to go and get the fans out of the closet. That adult would be the one that would do that. So that's who sat at that, bench or that special chair.
Got you.
For the beginning of service. I think after a while they did move over once we all had, services came to the point where the ushers could sit down. But, that's what that chair, I think, was. I don't know if it was a folding chair or just a chair from the banquet facility downstairs or the dining hall or whatever you want to call it. But that's who we had in that particular chair. So, that's kind of what was going on in our back.
Right.
Again, it was those individuals who may have had toddlers or young school-age children.
Right.
I think once they graduated a little bit further in school, then they sat other places in the congregation. So that's kind of what was going on there. Or sometimes the teenager, that kind of hung out a little bit late.
Right.
Just kind of creeped in somewhere. Like you said, those who came in late from service and didn't want to make their way further into the congregation. Now, we always had other seats, but it wasn't necessarily one that you could ease your way into, without interrupting or getting a lot of eyes, again, because we had such a smaller room, sanctuary. So that was kind of easier to kind of lean over and kind of whisper to somebody like, all right, scoot down a little bit, or, watch out, let me get by.
Right.
So that worked a little bit better than walking all the way up or midway through the sanctuary. And again, the usher could, offer you all the seats.
Right.
So it's kind of up to you to choose where you decided to sit. That's what it was. I don't ever remember reality, our back row being real full. We always had enough space to sit and maybe have something next to you, like, your bag or, so we weren't sitting elbow to elbow in our back seats.
Okay.
But I think I remember at your church a few times that I had gone and sat in the back, we were kind of close, but not, again, not so much that if a guy wanted to put his arm up that he could.
Right.
Like, it wasn't sitting so much elbow to elbow like you would in a choir loft.
Right.
Or anything like that.
Right.
So there was a little bit space there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I just want y'all to continue to tune in, and share your own experiences, and also, you know what, we want y'all to come and not just share on social media, but we want y'all to come on the show.
Mm-hmm.
We want
join us in this conversation.
Yeah, because I think that this is going to be hilarious. That's the whole point of this. Sometimes the other show gets a little serious and deep, and this one's going to show really the goofballs that Kaffa and I really are.
I mean, I think this will get serious and deep too. When you talk about pew politics, like that's serious.
It is, but it'll still show some goofballness.
Yeah, because some people are really goofy when they want to sit in a particular seat. Like, hello,
right,
I'm already here.
Right. So
you want me to get up and move?
I mean, it's going to get deep like that, y'all. So continue to tune in. This show will be every Tuesday. And what's going on? Hey, Kaffa, what do we want them to do?
Maurice, we want everyone to stay fit with Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Follow, share, comment, and subscribe to the No Fruit Podcast.
Continue to listen to us on your favorite podcast channels.
And look for new episodes every Thursday.
We thank y'all very much for listening to us.
May God bless you all.
Peace.
We all know a guy who only occasionally shaves for big occasions, and it's because that occasional shave really hurts. It's the time of year for big occasions, and yet there he is, suffering with that cheap drugstore razor. Let's help him out. Henson Shaving's line of razors, built with aerospace precision, deliver a smooth shave your dad, brother, and even son can enjoy, eventually. With replacement blades just 10 cents each, you'll buy it once, and they'll use it for life. How's that for the perfect gift? Celebrate with 100 free blades on your first purchase, and no subscription headaches. HensonShaving.com/holiday.
Lucky Land Casino, asking people, what's the weirdest place you've gotten lucky?
Lucky? In line at the deli, I guess?
Aha, in my dentist's office. More than once, actually.
Do I have to say?
Yes, you do.
In the car before my kids' PTA meeting.
Really?
Yes.
Excuse me, what's the weirdest place you've gotten lucky?
I never win and tell.
Well, there you have it. You can get lucky anywhere, playing at LuckyLandSlots.com. Play for free right now. Are you feeling lucky? No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+. Terms and conditions apply. See website for details.